Okay, we're recording. Please go ahead.
Okay, good morning. It's October 16 at 10 a.m. I am calling the meeting of the Town Council Town Services and Outreach Committee meeting to order. We have 4 members present, and that constitutes a quorum. We do not have Mr. Hegner with us today. He is had notified us in advance that he would not be available. So with that said, I will just want to remind everybody that this meeting is being conducted by a remote means. Members of the public have access to the meeting by Zoom and by telephone, and that was announced. It is pursuant to the current open meeting law as enacted by the legislature of the Commonwealth. So we can proceed, and I want to make sure that everyone can hear and that they can hear me and we can hear them. So Councilor Ryan, are you present?
I'm present.
And Jennifer Taub? Jennifer, can you hear us?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. My screen got covered with the agenda. Yes.
Okay.
I can hear you.
And Council Lord?
Present.
Okay, so everybody's here. Chief Ting, I was wondering, is there an issue that you would like, did you feel that you wanted to be present for?
Chief Ting and Mr. Mooring are here for the 151 Amity Street.
Okay, both of them are here for that. Thank you very much. Because I want to, let's see who's in the audience if I can. We usually do public comment at this point in the agenda, but I don't know if we want to cover an issue so that it was 151 Amity Street, so that the chief and Superintendent Mooring do not have to stay. Let me take a look. Jennifer, you have your hand up, so
Yeah, I don't know how you want to handle it, but I do see some members in the audience who may want to make public comment about this item.
yeah, now the question is whether we want to bring them into the meeting later, which I will ask about, but I think maybe we should go ahead and ask for public comment, and if it's okay with everyone, and do public comment as we usually do at the beginning of the meeting. And public comment can be on any subject within the jurisdiction of the committee. It does not have to be an item that is on the agenda for today's meeting. People who are in the audience who wish to make public comment should raise their hand when they're brought into the room. We request that they identify themselves by full name. Let us know if there's a preferred pronoun that they want us to use, and to identify where they live. They can either give an address or just state the district they live in. They don't have to give an exact address. And we will take public comment on any topic that fits within the description that I've given, and we will limit each public comment to 3 minutes. And I'm going to go in order. Somebody has named Joanna, has a hand raised. Joanna, could you please state your name and your address, and then go ahead with with what you want to tell us.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Joanna Morse. I use she, her pronouns. I live on Flat Hills Road. I'm writing about the lack of reappointment of Alex Hoare to the Conservation Commission. I had written the town council and Manager Bockelman about this, and Mr. Bockelman wrote back and said that he agreed with much of what I said, but I'm very concerned with a sentence that he said. I'd like to just address this around the basic issues of democracy in our town. This was basically the reason he gave for not reappointing Alex Hoare. He said, "My sole motivation was to choose the best candidate and, more importantly, to ensure the commission and its members function in a manner consistent with the town's standards and values and best protects the town's interests." So that's his quote. So while he is saying that he agrees with me, this is exactly the opaque lack of transparency that I was referring to in my email to town leadership, and that is a dangerous slide away from democratic government. I would like the manager, but I want this to be, said to the town council as well, to give detailed outlining of what are these standards and values that he's trying to uphold. He must be more specific if he's going to be not untransparent. And which interests of the town are being protected by Mr. Hoare not being reappointed. If he does not explain this, it appears that he's making a decision to eliminate a vote and a voice of someone who was willing to speak up for wetlands, and something that may not always be in the interest of elected and appointed leaders in the town. And that's my largest concern, is that we need to have people on committees and boards on the in-town government who may serve as a check on executive and legislative power, and may not always just rubber stamp the agendas of town leadership. For an actual democracy and not just a facade of representative decision making, we need to include members of boards who may challenge the status quo and raise questions. And Mr. Hoare has been someone who has spoken up in his role as Conservation Commission member to protect wetlands and the environment, which might get in the way at times of development interests by the town. But that's the job of the commission. I'm not at all speaking to whether the person that Mr. Bockelman is appointing has, I don't know anything about her, and that's not my point. My point is the absolute lack of democratic decision-making in this process and transparency. And I expect much more of our town leadership to actually demonstrate transparency and be clear about what the standards are, and not just have the standards be something that is upholding the interests of elected and appointed leaders. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And I will note for you and for others that this is an item that is on the agenda for later in the meeting. Mr. Bockelman is not available at the beginning of the meeting, but is going to be available later in the meeting. So that is why it is going to be postponed to the second half of the meeting after he is available. So Mickey Rathman.
Yes. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Mickey Rathbun. I live in South Amherst. I'd like to comment on the Alex Hoare issue. I'm very disturbed to hear that Mr. Hoare is not going to be reappointed for another 3-year term to the Conservation Commission. I understand that although reappointment isn't required, it is customary, except in rare instances where the candidate is deemed unfit for the position. I think with these volunteer positions that are critical to the town's function, it's important to have continuity, and I think that's why 3-year terms are generally re-upped. By all accounts, Mr. Hoare is highly qualified for this position and has served very conscientiously and effectively throughout his first term. We depend on these hardworking volunteers and should not subject them to arbitrary and capricious treatment. Wetlands protection is extremely important for the health of the environment. They're not just arbitrary lines drawn on a map. The Conservation Commission's job is to enforce regulations that further conservation goals, and these certainly include wetlands regulations. As I understand it, the Conservation Commission has repeatedly requested at something like 8 hearings that Archipelago submit a plan for its development behind Atkins in South Amherst. They've asked at least 8 times for Archipelago to submit a development plan that abides by the wetlands regulations. And Archipelago has refused to do so again and again. Alex Hoare has been a leading voice on the Conservation Commission in demanding that wetland standards be complied with. When Mr. Hoare asked the town manager the reason why he wasn't being reappointed, first the town manager said he didn't have to give him a reason. Later, the town manager suggested that there was a reason, but he wasn't going to disclose it until later, and he still hasn't done that. In the meantime, and unless the town manager does give a compelling reason, I think Mr. Hoare's reputation is being maligned. I think there's a suggestion that he's done something improper. And I think it's incumbent on the town to come out and say what it is that he's done that makes him unqualified to serve. I think under the circumstances, it appears that Mr. Hoare is being punished for taking a pro-environment stance. If that's the case, this is just simple corruption and it's unacceptable. The town manager's actions send a loud and clear message to everyone who might want to volunteer to serve on a town board or commission. If you don't toe the town's line, you're not going to be allowed to serve. Town manager has implied that there's something.
I need to ask you to conclude.
Okay.
The 3
Yeah,
minutes.
okay. I'm just going to say if the town manager has a legitimate complaint against Mr. Hoare, he should say so. And if not, he should reappoint Mr. Hoare and let the Conservation Commission get on with its business. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca Mazur, I believe is that the correct pronunciation?
Yes, it is. Thank you so much. I am thanking you for considering the parking space issue at 151 Amity. I live at 151 Amity Street. I hope you can hear me. I am in the car, which I realize does not speak super highly of my abilities as a driver. However, I would like to say that it is very difficult to pull out of our driveway with the current configuration. We take our sort of lives and property in our hands so often, and I feel that I make myself into a public nuisance trying to pull out of the space because it is absolutely terrifying. People fly down Amity Street, and it's not just making a left that's hard, even making a right. I promise you, and I know the our chief police officer is on the call. I promise you, I do my very best, and we all do, to pull out safely. But it's just a terrifying prospect every time. So thank you for considering getting rid of that one spot. And I really appreciate all the work that you're doing. Thanks.
Thank you. Mickey Rathman.
I think we already heard Mickey, so I'm going to Maria.
That's right. Maria, somebody named Maria.
Yes, Maria
Hi.
Kapikis, South
Hi.
Amherst. You can hear me, I assume, yes.
Yes, so go ahead and just give us
Yep, I got
generally your area of where you live. You don't have to give
Yeah,
an
yeah, I got it.
address.
So Maria Kapicki, South Amherst. I am speaking to you today about the Conservation Commission appointment process. So I hope that you read the two letters that I've sent you so far, but I just want to recap. What's happening here is that an individual, a resident, a volunteer who has served admirably for 3 years has had allegations. Actually, no, the problem is that there are no allegations. There has been insinuations by the town manager that this person has done something wrong, but there is absolutely no specific allegation. Mr. Hoare has not been told anything. The rest of the town has not been told anything. There has been no evidence. If there was something that had happened sometime during his tenure, it was not brought up to him. It was not discussed. And now this person is in a position where he cannot defend himself. He cannot refute allegations that don't exist. This is not he said, she said. This is just he said, and she gets no say whatsoever. This is horrible process. This is not the way to treat anybody, let alone somebody who has given endless hours and done excellent work as a commissioner. This is not acceptable. The TSO and the town council have a responsibility to fix this. The process itself is not working. It needs serious reform. Mr. Hoare was not granted an interview when he submitted his CAF. Another member who was another applicant, who was just appointed, was given an interview months ago, but didn't get appointed till a couple weeks ago. You need to vet these nominations. You have a responsibility to do this. There is nothing in the charter, there is nothing in state law that prevents you from doing this job and making sure that everybody has a fair shot to serve their town and to not be treated this way. This man's reputation and character are being materially harmed. You need to do something about this. It's your responsibility, town councilors. You're the only ones that can do anything about this. Your role is to supervise the town manager. And your role is to make sure that these processes are fair and you're representing the people of Amherst. Please do that.
Okay, thank you. I would ask you to finish up if you have any final comment, but thank you. I know we haven't heard from somebody, Pete, why don't you pronounce your name for us? Stendekar? You need to unmute, however.
Now?
So please state your name and give us a general indication of where you live. Don't have to give an exact address, but an area of town or district.
Peter Snedekor. I live at 151 Amity Street as well. I'm in Unit 1. Pulling out of our driveway is very exciting. If I pull my car out far enough to see, which is to say when I lean over the steering wheel as far as I can, look left, I can see up the hill. But of course, before the library construction started, people regularly rolled through the stop sign on North Prospect and were going 20 or 30 miles an hour when they came around the corner. So I've been honked at several times. I was in a minor fender bender pulling out of the driveway because I couldn't see. I know the town needs parking places, but I'd be very grateful if you could just cordon off that one so that we could see up the street and not get in accidents. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I think we haven't heard from Janet McGowan yet.
Hi, my name is Janet McGowan. I live at 706 Southeast Street. I use she and her pronouns, and I want to thank the TSO for taking comment and listening. I wanted to talk about the impact of Alex Hoare non-renewal or non-recommendation to be renewed. I know Alex. I think we're lucky to have someone with so much expertise on wildlife, wetlands. He's really hardworking. He goes out to sites. He collects information. He understands wetlands law and the impacts of development on wetlands, and also like how to put the two together in a way that is, following the law and getting the development to go. Several times when I was serving on the planning board, he would call me and ask questions about the history of a project or, the facts on a project. And so I just appreciate people who are curious and sort of go the extra mile to collect information. What is the impact? So I think it's going to create, or there is already a lack of public trust in the process of appointments to committees. It will confirm what many people think that, and reasons why they don't want to be on boards. I spent a lot of time trying to get people to apply for boards. People have said, well, I had a friend who was an expert in this and was never called, or he wasn't picked, or she. It's like a failure of the process that if somebody who has worked so hard has the qualifications and the experience, I mean, the renewal should not be automatic, but it should be close to it. And in this case, it hasn't happened. It makes it appear the town manager wants to control the process and the results, the activities of the Conservation Commission. He wants to keep curious, knowledgeable, possibly dissenting voices out of the process. It's known that the town manager wants the Atkin projects to go, and this will create a reasonable perception that he is trying to manipulate this process and on the process of an independent board that's created by state law. I really do think the TSO and the town council need to find out why the town manager has not recommended him for renewal, because you're the ones who ultimately make the decisions. You will either rubber stamp it or agree with it or disagree with it, but you need to know the facts and the reasons for this deviation from a custom or a policy. And we know the town manager is working under the town council, and I don't think it's not going to be good for the process. It's not going to be good for our democracy and our government if we don't know why he made these decisions. So I just really wish the town council and TSA inquire further and find the reasons, and also, follow your policy or your custom of reappointment. And so others will feel comfortable applying for boards or being on boards. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for your comment. I think that is the request. Let's see if there's any.
There's Sharon Judge.
Because
We have one more hand up.
bring Sharon Judge in because we haven't.
Hello?
Yes, please.
Can
Go
you hear
ahead.
me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good morning and thank you for your service and for allowing public comment. My name is Sharon Judge. I'm at 151 Amity Street, number 5. That's the Marsh condominiums. At issue is our parking. I get nervous whenever I pull out of our driveway. We wanted to ask for to delete 2 spaces because that would make it a lot easier to see. But we are, out of respect for the town, for whoever works uptown and works at the government center, we decided, well, maybe we could get by with 1. I want to speak to the issue of why you're probably thinking, why haven't other houses complained on their side of the street? Well, I want to explain that briefly. We, next to us is a rental of some lovely young women who are students. They have a larger driveway, so they have less of an issue, and I'm not sure if renters would complain to the town. I don't know if they even think about having that ability. The people next door, a large white house, I'm not going to use their names, they have, for some reason, a larger space from their driveway to the parking spaces than we do. Then the next house, the last house on the block, we originally owned there. They they get into and out of their driveway from Lincoln. So that is not a concern for them. So it's a special thing on our block that has people parking so close to our driveway that it is a problem. I guess that's all I wanted to say. Thank you again for your consideration.
And thank you for being here and making your presentation. So with that said, I think that we are completed with public comment now. So we can proceed on to the agenda. And as I have indicated previously, we're going to shuffle the agenda a little bit. In the posted agenda, town manager appointments are is the next listed item. But because the town manager is not able to be with us at the beginning of the meeting, but indicated that he expects to join the meeting later, we're going to postpone that item until he is present. So we have no minutes, and we're going to proceed to discussion of 151 Amity Street parking request, which we had several public comments about already. So I'm going to ask one of our committee members, Jennifer Taub, who's also the one who sponsored to the request that was referred, and see if she has any introductory comments, and if there's anybody who's in the audience that she would want to request to the committee to be brought into the meeting. If there's agreement of the committee, we would consider that. So start with Jennifer.
Thank you, Andy, and thank you to Guilford and Chief Ting for being at the meeting. Most of, when I presented the motion to the council, it was in response to the Homeowners Association at 151 Amity Street, which, as some of the residents have discussed, has a very narrow driveway and with cars, parking very close to that driveway. And I've come in and out of that 151 Amity, and you really have to get beyond the parked car. So you have to nose out into oncoming traffic in order to see if cars are coming. So it's a very precarious situation. And the cars go very quickly in both directions, but especially when they're heading west from downtown and it's downhill, the cars go very quickly. And when the Homeowners Association requested from the police department the accident record, it does appear that there is a very high accident rate on Amity Street overall, and especially that block between Lincoln and Pleasant Street. And since it was only one parking space, it seemed that the benefits, the traffic and safety benefits of losing one parking space could be absorbed, in whatever inconvenience it might cause for the cars that park there. I might also add, it's a little extraneous, but I'm a patient at Amity Street Dental, so, I have nothing but respect for the practice, but they have a large, very large parking lot behind their building. And apparently they don't allow or discourage employees from parking there. So I think a number of the cars that regularly park on Amity between Lincoln and Pleasant Street are from that dental practice. If a space is lost, I'd volunteer to speak with the office about allowing their employees to park there. Because I know when I go, the lot is usually empty. So it seemed like a small request for a pretty, significant benefit. And if we could bring in the representative from the Homeowners Association that initially brought this concern to the council is Steve Judge, and I see him in the audience, so perhaps we want to bring him in or recognize him to make a comment.
Is there agreement from the rest of the committee that we can bring Mr. Judge in? I don't think that, why don't we go ahead and do that since I see no objection being raised. Morning, Mr.
Great.
Judge.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that very much. Would you like me to make my public comment now, or do you want me to wait till you had a chance to discuss this matter more?
I don't know if there are going to be questions that you might want to respond to. The other thing that you did send by way of Councilor Taub is 4 photographs, and I assume that and I had asked if they were taken from the position of a driver leaving the space. I didn't know if we wanted to show those quickly in order to give a sense of it, or if we just want to go ahead and have discussion and hear from the chief and the superintendent of public works. Chief Ting, do you have any introductory comments about this request?
Yeah, absolutely. So, certainly safety is paramount for all of our motorists. And I personally have taken a look at the driveway out of 151. And I can't really comment on every driver's a little bit different. So I'm certainly not going to discount others' experiences with pulling out of there. I will say that in totality from North Prospect Street to Lincoln Avenue, there's 3 other driveways, and I believe that all 4 of the driveways are in similar situations when you pull out. They're almost identical in terms of getting out, with the exception of the old Drake building. That one, I think people usually pull in and back out of that. That's kind of a storage area. So that does make it a little bit more precarious there. So with that being said, just keep in mind that if this does pass, my guess is that all of the other neighbors will probably request something similar in terms of removing additional parking spaces. But again, I do believe that safety is paramount, and I don't disagree with the assessment from those pulling out of 151.
Do you have any introductory comments, Guilford?
I think Chief Ting hit on an important part. If you do decide to do this, we will get other requests, but I think it's a valid request to go ahead and get rid of the 1 space.
Okay, Jennifer, I have the photographs available. Do you want to have them quickly shown?
Sure. And I would ask, if Mr. Judge provided the photos.
Yeah, I did. I provided. Oops.
Okay.
Do you want me to? I don't think I can share my screen. So
I think that I have it.
There you go. So this is the typical situation that we have coming out of our driveway. That as you can see, this is from the car. I think it's my wife's car, and she's sitting in it, and she's already the side view mirror is already at the curb cut, and trying to get out into Amity Street is just really difficult. If you go to the other pictures, you can see, and the other issue here is a lot of times cars won't park right up against the curb, and so you'll have not only is the car parked there, but the car is parked 1.5 feet, 2 feet away from the curb, which extends it into the drive, into the street even more, and makes it even more difficult for us to especially make a right-hand turn. So I think that's a pretty representative photograph that you just showed, Chairman Steinberg.
Yeah, here's another one of your photographs.
Yeah, that's at that point you're a little farther out into the parking area of the street. You're beyond the end of the driveway.
Okay, think I have one or two more, if I recall correctly. I'll do one more, I think. No, this was one we had previously.
Yeah.
Why don't we stop and allow for some discussion and questions? Does anybody have any questions of Mr. Judge at this point? So is there any Councilor Lord?
Yes, thank you. So 151 is a condominium area, I believe. How many residents and or units are in that area, if I'm understanding? Thank you.
If I may speak to that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, there are 5 units. Typically, there are 9 residents of those of this condominium. Currently, there's a vacancy in 1 unit, so we currently have 7 people living here, but I anticipate it'll be filled soon. So we expect 9 people. There has been 9 people almost all the time.
Thank you.
And how many parking places are within the property that have to come out through this driveway?
So we have 2 per unit. So there are 10 parking spaces allocated to the units. And then there's 3 guest parking spaces as well. So a total of 13 parking spaces, 10 for residents and 3 for guests.
And the other houses down the street that were referenced that might make similar requests, are they single family homes or are they multiple units such as yours?
No, the one to our east is a single family home. The first house to our west houses 6 college students. They have 5 or 6 cars there. The one farther down is a single family home with 1 car.
Okay, thank you, that's helpful. So that information, I open it up to the committee. If questions of either Mr. Judge, the chief, or Superintendent of Public Works, please raise your hand and I'll recognize you to ask questions. Councilor Ryan.
So I think my question is really more for the committee and for our own deliberations. As both Chief Ting and I think Superintendent Waring suggested, there'll be other requests, or certainly would be reasonable for other requests on the same grounds. And so where do we draw the line and on what criteria do we do that? There's no question that this is a safety issue. The chief admits that, and it's visible from the photographs. But it's a safety issue for a whole host of properties on that street. It's also a safety issue for everybody on the other side of the street, who also have to make the similar kind of entry with parking on both sides. A number of years ago, I had personal experience with this. Actually, my wife did, so it was secondhand, but she got T-boned as she was coming up Amity. The car was coming out of one of the properties on the other side of the street, and the young student her vision was impaired by the parked vehicles. So, you know, and some of us have lived in places like Cambridge and other parts of the world where you have parking on both sides of the street, and you just have to be very careful. So I'm very sympathetic, and I think we'll probably go ahead and approve this. I understand the concern, but I asked my committee members, what do we do when the next neighbor comes, or the dental practice across the street points out that all their customers have to deal with this challenge as well. So I think it's more the precedent we're setting and trying to understand, you know, what sort of the rationale or criteria is, because it would seem the most safe thing to do would be to remove parking from the whole stretch on both sides.
Which would have the consequence that has already been acknowledged that there number of people we have a shortage of parking, and the parking system is built around parking on these kinds of streets near to downtown in order to serve the people who work in the downtown area or are using facilities in the downtown area. Jennifer?
Thank you. Yeah, well, where I think does make us different than a bigger city like Cambridge is, we've discussed it before that we don't have the enforcement capacity to enforce when a car is parked, into the street beyond the space. And in one of the pictures, the big SUV was not only parked far, like a foot and a half from the curb and over where the lines were drawn for the space into the street, but it was also over the line that's closest to the driveway. So, again, if we don't have the enforcement capacity, I think that's another reason why we might, want to take the step of eliminating a parking space. And then, it may be that there's not on that side of the street, there's really just two other residences. There's the single family house, that's one house in from Lincoln on Amity, and then there's the house that I think has 6 students living there, but it sounded like the driveway was wider. So I don't know, the chief would probably know this, if that makes it easier to inch out if you have a wider space. The streets only, well, I guess, it doesn't matter how often you're pulling in and out. I mean, the residence, that house that is rented to students is always, rented. They may go in and out less frequently in their car than other residents because you can walk to the university from there. And in terms of the other side of the street, I think it's a problem. I don't know if it's possible to have the parking spaces start further from the curb. But when I pull out from Amity Street Dental, it is pretty terrifying. And there's been at least one bad accident, I think, coming out of that driveway. So, maybe we want to start with eliminating this spot and then look at, I don't know if that's feasible, to leave more space on either side of the curb cut before the cars can park.
If I could just, go ahead, Councilor Ryan.
Go ahead, Steve.
If I could just comment, I think that's a legitimate concern that this might open the door to other requests. But if it does, then I think we in the town have a bigger problem than just our driveway. We probably have to look at what the spacing is. Right now, I went out and checked it this morning. The white line, which issues the demarcation for where you can park, is 4 feet from the curb cut. A little bit less than 4 feet from the curb cut. And that just seems awfully close. And I don't know what the regulations are in terms of the town, is how much space you have between the driveway. But if you're looking at a more comprehensive approach, you might want to look at what that distance is between the curb cut for the driveway and where the parking begins. But my hope is that you'd be able to deal with our issue now, and so we wouldn't have to wait for a more comprehensive approach for the whole town to be to take that up. I think that could take some time, and it really is a safety issue. If you look at there's been an accident at at 155, at 151, at 140. There's been, and of course, there's been a lot more accidents at Lincoln. This is not going to affect that specifically, but we've had a history of accidents, including one person in the condo complex. And Councilor Ryan, you've seen how difficult that on that street, entering that street can be. So I would really hope we could deal with this one for us, and then we'd be glad to participate in a town discussion about what makes more sense town-wide.
Councilor Ryan?
Yeah, I think when I look at the way this is headed, we're going to lose a lot of parking downtown. And it is a downtown, and people who choose to live close to downtown, such as myself, and the folks who live at 151 and a whole bunch of other people, have, I think, there's a real reason why we do that. But it also comes with the challenge of parking, and it comes with the challenge of navigating that in a dense urban area. Granted, it's not Cambridge, but it is our downtown. And we want people to come and use it. We want to have as much parking as possible. We've got the library up the street. You've got the Drake. So these are precious parking spaces. So I think we're kind of caught. There's clearly a safety issue, but the safety issue is not going to go away. If we grant this request, which again, I think is a perfectly reasonable request, the safety problem will remain for all the other folks who live on that street. The only difference is they probably either, if they're rentals, for instance, or if they're a dental practice, they may just not come to us and say, we want to change. So I think we also have to weigh the fact that this is the center of the town, and parking is precious. And one of the challenges of living, you have many advantages, and I think I testify to them myself, of living close to the center of the town. But one of the disadvantages is that it's denser, and you have to be cautious getting in and out of your parking. So that's my main concern.
Jennifer?
Maybe getting a little off subject, but I would put in a plug for the parking lot, the town-owned lot. I think it's called the North Prospect Lot, which is between St. Bridget's Church and the CVS parking lot that the town owns. It's very underutilized, so that's there's, and I think there's like 70, close to 75 spaces that are available there to park, which is very close. And I would, we want people to live within walking distance to town, and I, hate for, taking your life in your hands to have to be the price to pay for that. But I know that Councilor Ryan agrees that in this, or it seems to agree that in this case, we could grant the request to lose one parking space. And I think there are other options to park close by to Amity Street and between Prospect and Pleasant Street.
Councilor Lord?
Thank you. I'm leaning towards voting for this. One, because it's multiple units. There's 5 units. It's one spot, and I know every spot is precious, but I just think if we've had a lot of people saying we really feel unsafe, there could be accidents, people fly down that hill. I know last night, this is years away, we talked about robust bike paths and more of that. So we could be also heading towards more walking and biking, especially with, inflation and gas prices, but that's not going to help today or in the next few years. But just, I think as the new library opens, Amherst continues to build up, we will have to get creative about what parking structures that we might need and how that looks. But I just wanted to say that I'm leaning towards voting yes. Other requests might come in, and if you're a single family home, maybe, everybody deserves to be heard and given consideration. But the fact that there's 5 units, that really is swaying me to say yes today. Thank you.
Yes, I have a question for Superintendent of Public Works or the police chief. Are there any standards that exist in safety for the distance between the edge of a driveway and when parking can should begin?
There are standards, but then there's also ways to adjust the standards for each condition. Like the people who are requesting this change, they're on the outside curve of the road. So you would actually have smaller distances on that side because you can see better into the roadway. the people on the inside of the curve, which is the south side, you'd have larger standards because it's harder to see around the corners because of the curve of the road blocks more traffic. So they're standards, but there's also judgment that goes in with making those standards and setting which ones you use. Speed of the road is also figured in there, but the fact that no one wants to obey the speed rules, that's not a factor in that decision.
Would you recommend in any way adjusting parking places so that there's a larger distance that is recognized as in this kind of situation?
For this driveway, moving it back, getting rid of that one space would be good. I mean, we would actually probably look at it when we paint it again next year, and we might be able to readjust the spaces and regain the space as we repaint, or we may give more people different abilities to have more driveway exit space as well. So getting rid of one space may help more than just this one property owner.
Okay, any final comments from the chief or?
No, I support it. I mean, I definitely think that safety is an issue. However, like I said, I think it's been widely discussed here that that's going to set a precedence. We're not only within other neighbors on Amity Street. I think that probably other areas throughout town may start looking at that, and you're gonna have a lot of requests. And we've seen that in other areas. Certainly when, for example, for speed enforcement, well, if there's a neighborhood that puts in speed bumps, then the requests start coming in that everybody wants speed bumps. So that's just something to consider, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have a transportation and parking commission that can address those kinds of issues and spend a little bit more time with regular participation from police department and public works and planning to think through with the counselors who are would be on the commission how to do this. I think we need a motion, and I think it would be something like a motion to recommend to the town council that it eliminate one parking place immediately to the east of the driveway for 151 Amity Street, and request that the Department of Public Works investigate in adjusting parking places in an appropriate manner to address the safety issues that have been raised by the residents. Jennifer?
Now, you as the chair can't make the motion, so I should. Should I make the motion that you just made? Or
Andy can make the motion.
oh, okay, then I second.
Okay. And you recorded you have the motion written down, Athena?
I don't think I captured every word, but I'll get it.
Yeah, it was to recommend removing one parking place to the east of the driveway from 151 and request Amity Street, and request that the Department of Public Works adjust parking place space assignments in an appropriate manner.
Got it. Thank you.
Is that agreeable wording to the seconder?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So with that motion on the floor, is there any further comments, discussion? I will then call for a vote. Councilor Ryan,
Aye.
Councilor Lord,
Aye.
Jennifer,
Yes,
and I'll vote yes, so it's 4-0. Chief Superintendent Mooring, thank you very much for being here and participating in this. We will be talking about the Transportation and Parking Commission proposals and getting a report from Paul about waste hauler. I will tell you that on the waste hauler, just a second, and I'll be back to you in a second, Mr. Judge, because we really appreciate your bringing this to our attention, your participation. Why don't I go ahead, he's now, Mr. Judge, did you have anything you wanted to say in conclusion?
I just wanted to thank you for your consideration and say that we appreciate all the work that you as volunteers do for the town and for Captain Ting and Superintendent Mooring. We appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. On the waste hauler, the town manager has found a consultant who will assist from the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission and has made the arrangements to do that, and has noted that there's a convenience factor because Susan Waite, who we know from the Commonwealth Department of Environmental Protection, her office is co-located with the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission so that she will be available to assist. You can, if there are further questions of the town manager about that, but we have made progress, and there is a consultant that has now been identified. So I just wanted to share that with the committee so that you know when, since that's an agenda item. The Transportation and Parking Commission, I met with GOL at their last meeting earlier this week, and
Andy, can we say thank you to Chief Ting and Superintendent Mooring?
yeah, well,
And
certainly
let them
Chief
go.
Ting, no, I don't think that you're welcome to stay, but you don't need to stay in any event for this.
Thanks for joining.
Because
Appreciate your time.
we will welcome if there is a successful creation of the Transportation Parking Commission, having a body that has either you or a designee that you make for the commission. And the kind of discussion that we just had is something that would actually be happening in that body in the future. And I think that that's, from our view, very helpful. And I don't know if unless you have some comment about the subject in general, I think that there's no need for you to remain.
I appreciate your time. I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you very much. And thank you, Athena. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Okay. I don't know, do you have anything, would you like to stay in the meeting? It's up to you.
I'll go ahead and leave. I'll let you talk it out, and I have been reading your minutes. I think it's going in the right direction.
So we had a meeting with GOL, and there's been, I actually have to turn back to Athena. As far as the committee charge, Is the committee charge now done? Did they take a final vote on it?
I don't believe GOL voted either the charge or the public way policy.
But I don't think there's anything left to discuss in the committee charge because I think that we are all in agreement.
I believe so.
And I reported back that we seem to be in agreement on the designation of and I think the only thing that they were just asking about was whether there was any further specificity we wanted to give about public membership, the three public positions. But I think that we've gone over that language enough that I did not have any change to propose. So I think that we're pretty well concluded on that. Is there anything that you can think of, Athena?
No, not for the charge.
Yeah, I think that the bigger item is the public ways policy, and there are things that need to be addressed that we talked about at our last meeting. And I think that when I've thought about this, some of the language that we talked about last week, I need to go over the recording of the meeting and make sure that we have the language that we had talked about at the prior meeting incorporated. I know that Councilor Ryan has been making some review of that. Do you have any comments, Councilor?
Well, I guess, Andy, the thought simply is that what GOL saw and commented on and is now coming back to us doesn't include some of the changes that we voted on. So there's language that we agreed that had to be inserted from the attorney. I think Bob Hegner had a passage that he wanted deleted, which we deleted, or actually his language, I'm sorry, his language he inserted that we inserted. So I think it's good that it's coming back to us before it goes to them for their final GOL review. And I think we just need to make sure that what they get includes everything that we have put into the policy document. There's a larger question, which I know you're going to get to, I guess, about utility structures and poll hearings. But I think the most important thing, well, one of the important things is that what we do finally send them should be the document we want them to review.
So what I think that the biggest issue that we talked about last time was the question regarding poll hearings, as we have commonly referred to them, and whether poll hearings should be kept within the council. And I wanted to at least revisit that issue, because if we can make a decision on that as far as what we recommend, and it's a decision not to include poll hearings, I think that we could significantly clear up some of the other problems that exist within the policy, because at that point there would be no hearings that we would necessarily have to require that be done by the Transportation and Parking Commission. A referral such as we just made, it was very important to have participation from interested parties in that discussion, but we didn't have to call it a public hearing in order to do that. we could use other, make a reference in saying that it is expected that the commission will meet with interested parties or conduct listening sessions as a part of its process. But if we drop the word hearings out of the requirement, which is in the policy now, that would simplify the process for the commission, because it wouldn't have to go through the formality that is required once you declare something as a hearing and use that exact word. But we would still end up achieving essentially the same result. So if we made that change and don't have poll hearings, then a lot of the we could simplify the document significantly. So I thought it would be worth having a discussion about that topic and how to proceed. So I don't know if there are any other comments from the other members of now. Councilor Ryan?
Just one other thought to that, Andy, in addition to simplifying the document and making it, I think, easier for TPC to function, since they wouldn't have the hearings that would be required. There's also the issue of duplication of labor. In a poll hearing, if it goes to TPC, the utility would have to be there and they would go through the process, and then it would come back to the council and they'd have to be there as well. So I think for the sake of just, not creating extra burdens on petitioners or applicants, along with taking this, I think, off TPC's plate and putting it where ultimately it has to rest anyway, which is with the council. My strong recommendation would be simply to take it out and then bring back to our committee the document with revised with that removed and with all the other changes in it that we've already voted on for our review. And then it would go back to GOL and they could then finally take their action.
I think that was kind of what my thinking about it was. Another point that I think was raised at the last meeting, it may have been by Athena, is that we don't want to delay the process because at times there is urgency and there's citizen requests for changes to their electrical service, and having a long process that requires a bouncing back and forth between the Transportation Parking Commission and the council, with the council having to make the final decision, would delay for the homeowner who's seeking the change to the electrical service, the change the installation of whatever is needed to serve their purposes. So there's that element to it too. The last thing that I'd like to point out is we really spend very little time at the council meeting in the hearings. We very rarely had, I think maybe on only one or two occasions that we've had somebody come in who's a property owner near to the change, who thought that it was important to come into the meeting. Their presentation was fairly brief, and it got all of the facts out to the body that has to make the decision, which is the council. So, they haven't been real long hearings, and I'm not sure we're burdening the council significantly, since they have to become familiar enough with the issue to feel comfortable voting on it. Councilor Ryan, you had your hand up and then took it down. Did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think if the committee is agreeable, and that's I think what I'm asking my colleagues to think about, if they're agreeable to the idea of moving poll hearings back to the council's responsibility and off of TPC's plate, what we'd be asking would be that the chair then revise the existing document with that removed. And also, I would suggest that we also ask the chair to directly speak to the attorney. So rather than waiting to get to GOL, the chair could bring this revised document to the attorney and make sure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. I think there may be one or two other questions that we had last time as a committee that never got answered that also could be addressed. So I think my hope is that we would send this back, ask the chair to proceed with revising the document, and also ask him to reach out directly to the attorney and get her input, and then bring that all back to us, where we would review the document one last time, hopefully, and then send it to GOL.
I thought about that too, and I could revise the document by going over the recording of the last meeting we had 2 weeks ago to make sure that we have all of the changes that we agreed to recorded in the document, and that's a matter of comparison. But if there was clarity about the poll hearing issue, which would require a vote of this committee to change its recommendation on having the poll hearings referred done by TPC and leave the poll hearings with the council, it would be easy then to make to do a whole revision of the document to eliminate all of the sections that refer to hearings. The other thing that came up, of course, was the question of the licensing commission. And I think that is in itself a problem that needs to be straightened out, because we don't want to ask the Board of License Commissioners to report to the council on matters that are unrelated to referrals that are directly a part of the council policy on public ways. And the only thing that's in the public ways policy that actually refers to the Board of License Commissioners is use of public ways for food trucks and carts. And of course, they do a lot of things, and we don't want to burden their process. We want to have it limited to things that we have referred to them, and we want to get that addressed. And I don't believe, and we will have to check with the License Commission about this, that they have any hearings that are related to that particular issue that's within the public ways policy. And if that's correct, then it should not be in this particular document. There's no need to have it there. So I think that's sort of the context of how we could move this along. I'm not going to make a motion on this, and I'm going to leave it to somebody else. But if somebody makes a motion to change that one particular issue, I'll certainly look for a seconder. Councilor Ryan?
Well, I'm prepared to make a motion, and we'll see what my colleagues think, but I would move that we remove the TPC from the authority of the Transportation and Parking Commission, which is currently where it resides in the document. I would move that we remove that and put it back into the authority solely of the town council, and that we instruct the chair to revise the document and also include all other changes that we've already voted on. And I would add also to consult the town attorney and then bring this back to the committee at our next meeting and for our review and vote. And don't ask me to repeat that, Athena. I'm sorry.
Is
I'll
there a
second.
second?
So it's
So-
probably got more in it than it needs, but that thank you for the second. That's my motion.
Yeah, Tina, do you have sufficient motion, or do you need to get that clarified?
It's sufficient.
Thank you.
So the motion, essentially, that we're changing our recommendation and would not have the hearings on utility issues referred to the Transportation and Parking Commission. And any further discussion on the topic? Hearing
Andy, can I ask for a clarification? Is this committee going to look at those documents again before they go to GOL, or are you making changes and sending them right on?
well, this is my next question is
Okay.
going to be, I don't know if it would be better to get the vote on the motion, but my suggestion is that we, in order, because we're running out of time, essentially. And we need to have 2 readings at the council level, and we need to get this back to GOL. So I was wondering if we could meet next week for a brief meeting. It would just be on the single issue of this particular document. And that way we could get it back to GOL more quickly. And what I would do is take responsibility. I may look for help from somebody else in the committee, but I would take responsibility for doing the revisions to the policy as described. Councilor Ryan?
Yeah, as part of the motion, actually, that it does come back to us. I think it does have to come back to us. We have to see the final product before it goes to GOL. It'd be nice if we could send it directly to GOL, but there are going to be substantial changes, or there are going to be changes. And I think all of us need to see them and discuss them and see if we have any questions. Hopefully we won't have many, but who knows? So I'd be open to an extra meeting if the rest of our members are open to that. But whether we have an extra meeting or not, I do think that it has to come back to us first before it goes to GOL.
Jennifer?
So the meeting, if I could make a meeting next Thursday, not the full 2 hours, but it would just be to address this item. I could do that.
I think if Athena, would that be a problem to have an extra meeting for 1 hour from 10 to 11?
Nope, that works.
Councilor Lord, is that a problem for you?
No.
Shall we vote on the motion that's on the floor? I think there's agreement. So I'm going to call for a vote, and I'll start with Councilor Ryan.
I vote aye.
Councilor Lord.
Aye.
Jennifer.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So it's 4-0 with 1 member absent. And with that said, I'm going to go to
So
another
Andy,
issue.
if I may interrupt just for a point of clarification, and for the sake of the public and for my sake, we are adding, or we're going to add an extra meeting on October 23rd, Thursday at 10 a.m. from 10 to 11.
Correct.
Do I have that right? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I, as with Jennifer, have reasons that I need to limit the time on the meeting. But I will put the extra meeting in. So I think that we now have talked about that topic. We have not yet heard from the town manager.
I am in touch with him and he should be on in the next 5 minutes or so. They were a little delayed this morning.
Okay, I know that he had a personal matter that,
Yeah.
and he was going to join us as quickly as he could. And I think that what I would then like to do for a couple minutes is we have two other items related to Transportation Parking Commission. One is the council rules of procedure changes that would be necessary. And the other is the committee charge for the future, because there would, whether we would want to make recommendations on changes on the committee charge. I think we probably don't have time to talk about both, but I'm going to put on the screen, if I can find it, see if I've got, if this is the one that I'm looking for. Yeah. So under the rules, this is agenda. Let's see if I get it right. The recommendations having to do with changes to the council rules of procedure. It's item 7. And so on your screen, you should see 8.2 of the current rules. And wherever referral is listed, it is shown in yellow. And I think that what we would need to do is recommend a change in 8.2 that has makes it clear that if there's it could be done as one of two ways of going about it. One is to say that anything that is referred to the Transportation and Parking Commission comes back to the council should not be referred to a committee. And the other possibility is to say that in a more general sense, any referral to another body that is then returned to the council and is to a body that has councilor members as a part of the body, that it does not get referred to a committee. And that makes it a little bit broader, but it seems that we would need to do some revision to 8.2 in order to address that issue and not have a situation where something is thoroughly reviewed by TPC and then gets to the council and it has to be referred back to TSO. So that was what we had talked about previously. That's what the issue is. And so I'm going to stop sharing now, get back to the committee and see if there's anybody has any comments on that. Through disagreement, that Councilor Ryan.
Just a process question, which I should know the answer to, but these kinds of requests to change the rules of procedure, that can come from an individual counselor, correct? It doesn't have to come from a committee. So are you envisioning the committee bringing this request, which is perfectly fine? Are you envisioning that you would bring it individually? And I assume it goes to GOL anyway. So I guess your thought is that we as a committee would make this request and send it to GOL, assuming we agree to it. Is that your way we would do it?
Yes, I would feel more comfortable that if there was an agreement among
Committee, exactly.
the committee that the
Okay.
committee thinks that this is the appropriate action to take.
Okay.
But it does need to go to GOL, and I think that the only question is whether it is expected that we actually provide the language that we would like GOL to consider, or just the general concept, and leave it to GOL to do the drafting. And I don't know if Athena has advice on that. Otherwise, I would need to talk with the chair of GOL about how she would like to proceed with it. So,
My instinct is always, Andy, to just give them language and then they can play with it, as opposed to giving them a general concept and then letting them. So, but that, I think, it can go either way. My other question has to do with the committee charge and how you want to handle that going forward. Is this something that you will, I mean, this is really appreciated. You put it up on the screen, you showed us what you have in mind. And we certainly will talk about it, I assume, at their next meeting. Well, not the next meeting, but the next meeting. How do you want to handle the committee charge? A similar fashion? Sort of present us with a document with suggested changes? Is that how you want to proceed with that as well? Or is that more complicated?
I think that's probably going to be more complicated, because
Okay.
I think that once we open up the committee charge, we should look more carefully at whether there are other changes we want to make to the committee charge. So I would urge
More
members
general discussion? Yeah.
to generally look at the committee
Right.
charge itself and
Okay.
to make their own assessments of what is needed. I think we could ask one person to draft a proposed language change for that particular council rule of procedure along the lines that have been described, if it's the agreement of the committee to do so, and just proceed. And we could get one volunteer to take that on. Paul, good morning, and welcome to the committee. I'll fill you in later about 151 Amity Street. I reported on the waste hauler discussion that you have found somebody from the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission who would be drafting the RFP, and that there are issues that would follow, that might follow, but I just shared that brief piece of information with them. And we had some public comment regarding the appointment, which we'll get to in just a moment. So that's seemed to have
It
lost.
looked like the town manager was having some connectivity issues. He was frozen. Oh, here he is.
Andy, could we just get closure before we return to Paul on the two items that we were discussing? At least in my mind, I'm still a little confused. Can we do that first, and then we can?
Yeah, I think that the what I'd ask for is whether there's agreement from the committee to move forward with drafting a proposed change that we would submit to GOL regarding the referral. Once a matter is referred from TPC to the council, that it should not be referred back to TSO.
And I think, Andy, at least speaking for myself, the other committee members can speak up, but I'd be happy to have you draft language like that for us to discuss and probably vote on at the next appropriate meeting, at least for that issue. If you're willing to do that, seems like you've already made a pretty good step in that direction.
Councilor Todd?
I agree with George. I just want to weigh in that I would support that process.
Okay, we don't really need to vote because we're not adopting anything
No,
until
right,
we
right.
see the what we're proposing. The thing I call on you for help with what might be the appropriate wording for the motion for the revision to 8.2.
We can work on that outside the meeting.
So Athena and I could come up with something that we're both comfortable with, and then get it back to the committee for the next full regular meeting. We are going to have that brief, no more than 1 hour meeting a week from today as an added meeting to talk about changes to the town council policy on the public way to address the issues as we had discussed. And so that Paul has full context, we voted to change the recommendation so that utility hearings, or poll hearings as they're commonly called, would remain with the council and would not be referred to TPC. So that's what we were going to do, a redraft of the policy, and then see if we can get clearance that the revised policy would be whether Attorney Goldberg has any further comments on it after we do the revisions. So that was what our thought was, and why we wanted to have the special meeting next week, is to keep this moving so that we could get TPC through 2 readings before the end of the council term. So saying that, and I don't know if you had connectivity problems, but what I was saying is that I did report about the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission being available to do the drafting, and in the fact that Susan Wade is located in the office with Pioneer Valley Planning Commission is an added bonus that would come with it, but it gives us a path forward. And you know, speaking for myself, I really appreciate the fact that you have found somebody and have now planned to get that RFP moving as has been voted by the council. So is there anything else on Waste Hall or any other issue? Otherwise, I would like to turn it to the committee appointment. And so I'll wait for just one moment to see if any hands go up. And if not, we will go to the committee appointment issue. Seeing none, Paul.
Okay, yes. Can you hear me okay? I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so it's good news with Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. Appreciate them coming forward and offering this. A lot of pluses to that. So the appointment before you today is for the Conservation Commission, and the person is Christina Smith at 150 West Pomeroy Lane. Ms. Smith is extraordinarily well qualified to serve on the commission. She works for the state and Department of Agricultural Resources, where she supports farmers in complying with the Wetlands Protection Act and helps them preserve their land and address a lot of drainage issues that farmers are dealing with, especially in the climate change era. She has been active in the Conservation Commission. She's presented to the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissions on drainage. her presentation was a tale of two ditches, and one of the ditches was in Amherst that she used as a reference. She has taken trainings provided by the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissions, and is super qualified to serve as on the commission. And thank you for accommodating me on the schedule. So I appreciate that to the council.
Yeah, and I guess I have to say that what you did miss because you weren't able to be at the beginning of the meeting was that we did do public comment, and that there was public comment offered on the subject, and it was a number of issues related to the decision to not reappoint the current member, but to go ahead and make what you thought was most appropriate appointment without consideration of that issue of the fact that a current member who has served only one term is not being reappointed. I'm not going to try and characterize the public comment. I think that the best thing is to just say that if you are, it might be advisable for you to listen to the recording of the meeting for the public comment period in the future when you have time to do so, and it's available. So I'm going to open it up for comments, questions from members of the committee. Jennifer.
Yeah, so I mean, this is not a sort of controversy any of us were looking for, but it's before us. So I think we have to address it. And what makes me very uncomfortable is there is just so much innuendo out there, and I don't have any necessarily any reason to doubt that the two new members that we confirmed the appointment of at the last TSO meeting, or the person who's being nominated today, about their qualifications. But we do know that the member who's not being appointed is at least as qualified. And the concern is, I guess I was thinking about it, I was maybe a little slow on the uptick, but thinking about it after the last meeting, is like the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Planning Commission, Conservation Commission members cannot join and cannot be part of reviewing an application midstream. So these new members, 3, as qualified as they may be, as far as I understand it, will not be able to participate in the review of the Atkins Corner application. So it really does have the appearance and it puts us as TSO members and the council in a really impossible situation, because it's not, you can't just say, well, the current member is very qualified and the 3 new members are qualified, because the fact that the new members cannot be part of reviewing this major application, it's a real loss to the town and the commission that somebody who is very knowledgeable, very, has been active, participant on the committee, totally well qualified, is being taken out and replaced by essentially 1 to 3 people that can't participate. So it's very, and then I do think TSO needs to discuss, because I've raised this over the years, so it's not just with this situation, our process of appointing, because it's just feels too subjective. There's got to be a more transparent, objective way that it can be handled. So those are my starting comments.
Those are great comments. So I don't want to disrupt the process for wherever the process is for the Archipelago project. My understanding is that the commission has already decided not to make any adjustments in regulations. That's already been voted. Beyond that, I can check on if if this would interfere with that decision, those decisions. In terms of but that's not the intent. It's clearly not the intent. In terms of the process is set by the charter. The charter establishes that the town manager is the appointing authority, and the council has the right of approval or not approval. And that's pretty well stated. It is a subjective because I have to make a judgment, and it's one person's judgment that makes the decision. It's a council's decision to approve it or not approve it or take no action. Those are the three options available to the town council. When we first started this process, when the council first formed, we established a process where I gave a fair amount of detail about the process in the memo. I think if you look at other cities and towns, you get a name. So I do an extensive memo. The other piece that was included in the charter is to include the resident oversight board, which is involved in pretty much every interview. There's a member from the resident oversight board that sits in on the interviews as well. So those are the sort of checks on the town manager's appointing. So I think that this process has been running really well. I know that this is a controversial one. But I think in the past, if you look at the record of the hundreds and hundreds of appointments I've made since the council was formed, the council has been pretty supportive of it. What's different in this case is there is like well, what about this person or that person? And because we know who the incumbent appointee was, and so there is a comparison, and then there's people who would support one or the other. And I think that's where the council has experienced challenges as well. When you are the appointing authority for the planning board or the zoning board, you have those kinds of conversations with each other.
Councilor Ryan?
So this is not our process. This is the town manager's process. This is not our appointment. This is the town manager's appointment. As he's pointed out, and has been the case for all 5 years that I've served on the council, and often been involved in reviewing his appointments and recommending them, he follows a very rigorous process, always consulting multiple people, in this case, 3 other individuals. This is an extremely unusual circumstance. I can't think of a previous example where someone who's served on a body is not being forwarded for another term. And that in itself suggests that this is an extremely unusual circumstance. And I think the town manager has made every effort to make it clear that it's not about the individual's qualifications. It's not about the individual's expertise. It's about something else. And I think at this point, given the long history of what the manager has done in making these many, many, many appointments and the rigorous process that he follows, that it's not asking too much of us to trust him when he makes this kind of request, or when he makes a decision not to renew someone. These positions do not come with guarantee of anything. We're grateful for the willingness of residents to serve, and many, many do. But the fact that you are serving is in and of itself not a guarantor of anything. So I think ultimately for me, it comes down to respecting what I've seen the manager do over the years and the process that he follows. In fact, he bends over backwards, to be fair. He understands very clearly that he's a manager, not a mayor. That's a very different kind of position where mayors can make decisions and just say that's, that's it. That's not the way he works. That's not the way he's ever worked. And I think in this particular case, he's done as much as he can do to help us understand why he's done what he's done. And finally, what we have in front of us is an appointment that we need to make a vote on. And so I would strongly urge my colleagues to trust his judgment and to trust his process. I think I'm prepared to make a motion as soon as the chair is ready to recognize me.
Jennifer?
Yeah, so I have to respectfully disagree with several items. I have brought this up in TSO before, that it's a contradiction. I think what Councilor Ryan, to me, it's a contradiction to say this is the town manager's decision. If that's the case, and this is what I've brought up before, why is it even coming to TSO and the council? What you're saying is it's our job to rubber stamp, and that just, forgetting this, even this particular situation, if it's the town manager's position and there's an implication we're out of line by questioning it, then why is he even coming to us? And I don't, I'm trying to respect everybody's privacy, but the community, I mean, to say, just trust me, that is not flying, I think, with many members of the community as being a transparent process. And it even came up in the council forum last night, where candidates shared that they've applied for multiple committees and haven't been selected. So it's different than the council committee process. You know who applies. The interviews are done in public meetings, so it's very different. So it really, is how much of this is the council's decision? How transparent are we? And I think, trust me, is not it does not sit well personally with me, or I think the community. And I feel like we're in this case particularly, because we don't know. I just feel like I'm also being complicit in some innuendo, which makes me very uncomfortable. I know I can, and I suggested in my remarks, I'm getting a little off topic, to the charter committee that we revisit the committee appointment process, that they on council appointed committees as well as the town manager, because I think our council committees have become too politicized. But I think there's not enough transparency in the way we've set up the town manager appointed committees, because we don't know who's applying, and there are people who apply to multiple committees and, at this point feel like they're just never going to be appointed.
Andy, can I jump in, please?
Yes.
So I just wanted to, I'm not sure, Athena, my computer's threatening to reboot in 4 minutes. So if you know how to stop that. So if I log off, I'll log back on as soon as I can. But to Jennifer's point, which I think are important points. So it is a town manager appointment that's reviewed by the council. It's not a council appointment. You can say yes or no, and that's the council's authority. It's sort of advise and consent type thing. And so if you think this is not a good appointment, you can say no. And that's how, and then we would go back to the drawing board. I would also like to say I probably have not appointed as many people as I have appointed. We always, just like the council, we try to have an adequate applicant pool so we can draw from, and we interviewed a lot more people than we ever actually appoint. And that goes, and a lot of people don't get appointed, and but their name, maybe I get 10 minutes out of it. So I think that's one of the benefits of the town manager, is that you do have a unitary figure who's been designated as the chief executive officer as the appointing authority, and that's what the charter chose. They could have chosen a different path on how to do appointments. One of the advantages is that there is people who don't get appointed are more shielded. It's not a huge public process that, this you're choosing this person over that one. This is different because it is being seen as a choice. I take the appointment of this position very seriously, and it was, I think I tried to share with you the level of, it's really hard to discuss personnel issues, but we treated this as a serious, as an issue that we took very seriously out of respect for the incumbent, because I have a ton of respect for the work that he does and has done. It's just I had to make it. Sometimes I have to make executive decisions and difficult decisions, and what I believe is in the best interest of the town, and that's what I'm doing in this case. And I think it is in the best interest of the town to make long term to make this decision.
Councilor Ryan?
So I want to push back quite firmly on the notion that I just have the view of, quote, trust me, unquote, or that I'm just a rubber stamp. I've been doing this for 5 years. Every time we have an appointment that's presented to us for our review, I just don't take out my rubber stamp and slap it down. First of all, I look at the qualifications. It turns out we have a town manager who makes sure that we generally get people who are highly qualified. In some bodies, the qualifications may just a matter of interest, but in a body like this, there's we're talking about the Conservation Commission. I very much look at the qualifications. As for instance, the current candidate we have in front of us, I look hard at the qualifications. And this individual is very highly qualified. So that's the first thing I look at. Second is the process. And Paul has been very clear about that process for the last 7 years that he's been town manager, that I've been involved with this. In the last 5 years, I've actually had an official responsibility. He tells you what the process is. He tells you who he has in the interview team. It's never one person or two people. In this case, it's 4. Chair of the committee, assistant town manager, a member of the Conservation Commission, and himself. So I look to see that the process is being followed. I look to see the process is clearly stated, and it is. I look also just over time, do we have a town manager who has a history of arbitrary actions, who just decides not to reappoint people willy-nilly? And in fact, I can't think of a single instance where this has happened in my experience. Maybe I'm forgetting something, but I can't think of it. So I look at all those factors and weigh them before I make my vote. I'm not a rubber stamp. When I say that we trust the manager in this particular case, I think he's clearly stated what he has been trying to articulate. And at some point, I think you do have to consider that as a factor as well. But it's like the 5th factor and 5 or 6 other things that I consider before I make my vote.
Councilor Cobb, and then I'm going to ask.
So I just want to say I was not
myself afterwards.
I was not directing that at Councilor Ryan, that you rubber stamp. I'm just saying it feels like, and I've felt this before, that the town, Paul explained, but we're asked to approve, but then are told it's not our decision. So that feels like the process is a rubber stamp. I'm not, suggesting that you are personally rubber stamping. I know that you're making a decision. I just have to say, in this case, when we talk about the interview process, the incumbent was not given the chance to interview. So the participants on the interview committee, it's not as though they interviewed the incumbent and the 3 other new members, 2 appointed, 1 being recommended today, and made a choice. So I think that's a different situation. In this case, they didn't have the interview, or the individuals that sit in on the interview did not have an opportunity to also evaluate the incumbent to this position.
So I'm going to step aside for a second from my role as chair and share my thoughts on the subject, which is why I raised my hand to treat it in that fashion. I think that there are two things that I've been thinking about with this whole thing. One is this, what are the standards that I apply on a regular basis as a member of TSO in reviewing appointments. And it is always, is the person bringing the qualifications to whatever the committee or board is that we're talking about? Do they have the qualifications and can they serve well? And I don't, that is the focus, but I do take that seriously. And in this situation, the person who's being recommended is qualified and brings some exceptional qualifications. When you have two people who are both qualified that the town manager is considered, town manager has to make a decision as to which to recommend. Those are difficult decisions under any circumstance. I'm sure that happens more frequently than we know about, that the decision has to be made between two qualified people. But the way that we have proceeded has always been that we don't second guess that aspect of the decision. Our role is to make sure that the person who is being recommended is qualified. The other thing that was brought up earlier, I think by Jennifer, was the question as to whether having only 4 members who are members of the commission from the beginning of the process involving the property down at Atkins Corner poses a problem, because it's getting close to a quorum. Not quite, I mean, if everybody is there, but it certainly is getting close, whether that poses a problem. And that one, that aspect of it, I guess I would like to have some assurance that the Conservation Commission can continue on and see that process to a conclusion, which is, from my mind, a timing question, not a qualification question. So those are my thoughts about it, and I'll leave it at that. So I turn it back to the committee as to how you want to proceed. Councilor Ryan?
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay.
I move that TSO recommended town council that they approve the appointment of Christina Smith to the Conservation Commission for a 3-year term to expire June 30, 2028.
Is there a second? I will second to get it on so that we can actually have discussion on the motion. But I do want to get back and hear if there's any more discussion. Jennifer?
Well, I think you had just asked a question. So this possible scenario was also raised in, I think, one of the letters that the council received, from a member of the public, which was one of the 4 commission members is also a candidate from the town council. So I know it's a few ifs, but if that person is elected and has to step down at the end of the year, and then there's only 4 of the original commissioners who have reviewed this Atkins Corner application, they actually don't have a quorum of members. And I'm not, you know, we could say, well, the application will wrap up by the end of the year, but you know, it could also easily not. So what happens in that case?
Unfortunately, Paul's computer problem did take hold. So he missed
He'll
your
be back
last
on in
comment.
just a moment. Sorry about that.
Yeah, we're going to have to wait for a moment for him to come back, because then I would, if you don't mind, when he comes back, I will ask you to repeat your statement.
There wasn't a second for George's motion, was there?
I ended up seconding it.
Oh,
so
okay.
I
I'm
did it
sorry, I
all
missed that.
for
Thank you.
Yeah, mine was a question. I just asked more than a statement.
Paul,
I'm back.
okay, you're back. Jennifer had made a comment after you were disconnected, and
Yeah.
we sort of have gone into pause because I asked
Thank
you
you.
to repeat it when you're back.
Yeah, good, thank you.
Yeah, it was really a question, and I know there's a few ifs here, but this was brought up in a letter that we received from a member of the community, which was, so we have 4 members which is a quorum. There would be 4 members that have been acting on the Atkins Corner application. One of those is a candidate for the town council. If that person is elected and has to step down, then there are only 4 members that can continue to act on that application.
Are only 3.
3, I'm sorry, 3, which isn't a quorum. And I know that, you know, we could say, well, it'll wrap up by the end of the year, but you know, it hasn't, and
Yeah.
my
No, that's-
following I wouldn't be absolutely convinced that it will.
That's a very good consideration. And I would need to look at the continuity of that, because we don't want to disrupt the process that they've followed. They've put so much time and effort into that. So I want to get that, whatever they're going to do on that, to conclusion. So I will need to look at that and can report back to the council on that on Monday.
If that happens, will you be prepared to withdraw the appointment and let the current member continue to serve in the capacity as is presently happening, because his term continues until replaced?
I don't know if I would withdraw. We could make it effective a certain date. So to see if we can get through the permitting for Atkins.
Would that require a new appointment memo?
It might be something I could deliver to the council. I would need to check with the conservation agent to figure out what that, and probably the town attorney, to make sure we would want the conservation to act on this. I just don't know the status of that project right now.
Okay, thank you. So again, I'm going to speak as a member, not as chair. You know, with an assurance that the timing of the appointment, or the consideration, or either as the appointment or the beginning of the term, would be adjusted as needs be to assure that that particular project can be completed with quorum of the Conservation Commission seeing it through. You know, comfortable. I think that, I guess that's the only issue that's an issue that's standing in my way. I would really like to have had that assurance before this committee votes. I know that council president is not involved with this, and she would have to agree to it, but we have 30 days as a council to act. We don't have to act at Monday's meeting. And this committee could adjust its motion or do something different. Guess I'm struggling my way through that as to how we could do that. Councilor Ryan?
I guess, Andy, I'm trying to understand your problem. The town manager has brought us an appointment and is asking for our decision. A number of hypotheticals have been put forward, to which we have absolutely no answer or any sense of what could or could not happen. And the town manager also, I think, made it clear that he is not going to recommend the reappointment of this individual that we're talking about, even though this individual is not actually in front of us at the moment. We're not actually talking about this person. We're talking about someone else entirely. They've apparently completely fallen off our radar screen. I think he's made it pretty clear that he is not open to or willing to recommend reappointment, and it's also not on our agenda, actually. So Andy, help me understand what it is that you expect to be determined that would somehow alter your view of this. I'm really not clear what your problem is.
I think the problem is that the whole Atkins Corner project is very important, I think, to the community for numerous reasons that I don't need to state here. And I don't want to have that process be jeopardized. And we don't know that that's an effect. And if with the request who's currently made, the assumption is that once the council approves it, assuming that they do, and it's recommended by the committee, then it becomes effective. The appointment becomes effective immediately, and that ends the term of the person who's currently serving. That means that there is not a quorum present on the council who's been at this process from the beginning. And town manager has also indicated that he needs to make inquiry as to whether that's a problem or not, because of lack of certainty. It said that he would need to consult and to get an answer to that. So I think that that's what the problem is. It's not the appointment, but it's the timing of the appointment. Does that make sense to you? Do you understand?
So what are you recommending? That we postpone the vote and wait? Is that, I mean, I'm open to suggestions. There's a motion and it's been seconded. You seem to be suggesting that you would like to postpone this decision and hence not have it brought to the council on Monday. I don't know what others think. Is that, I think that's what you are struggling with. Should we pause on this? And when would we take it up again? We take it up not at the next meeting, which is a meeting designed for one particular purpose, but we take it up at the next official meeting. Is that what you're suggesting?
I would suggest, that is what I was suggesting, that the 30-day window in any event doesn't.
Right, we don't have to do it right away. We can
don't
wait.
have to
That is
do it
correct.
right away.
I understand. And you think it's worth waiting because you'd like greater clarification on what might happen if.
Yeah, it's a.
Okay.
Paul?
I apologize for losing connectivity. Yes, I think the question is, when does the term become effective? And the council often, and the council actually, councilors often require a effective date on appointments. So that could be something that could be added to the council's motion whenever it comes up before the council, if it's Monday or the next meeting of the council.
Under the charter, you made a recommendation for a change. Once it's acted on by the council, it happens. It goes into effect because you did not recommend it as a different date. Your recommendation was just the appointment because this has not come up before.
Right. So I would have to amend that that recommendation to the town council.
And that's the problem, George, that I had, is that unless you're amending it right now, but it sounds like you probably want to get advice from your staff in conservation and planning as to whether there's a problem, whether it would be advisable to make that change. Athena?
I think this committee can vote on its recommendation, and then if the town manager decides it's necessary to update the appointment memo, he could do that by Monday, and we would change the motion for the council meeting on Monday.
So our vote would be on the appointment, but not the effective date. That could be changed, but the appointment itself.
I think that you can make a recommendation on the memo that exists now with the effective date. Normally the effective date is immediately because that's what the town manager has asked. And then if the town manager needs to amend the appointment memo, then he could do that Monday. And we would alter the effective date in the council motion on Monday. I have a feeling that this won't go on the consent agenda. And so it won't need the committee's vote to change the effective date before then.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor then. And I think that we've clarified. Does anybody have any questions about what Athena's just said? Seeing none, are we ready to vote? I don't see any reason not to. So maybe we should proceed with the vote. Councilor Ryan, going to start.
Aye.
Councilor Lord,
Aye.
Councilor Tabb,
Abstain.
and I vote aye. So it is 3-0 with one member absent, one member abstaining. And I think that concludes the matter. Is there any questions that people have of the town manager on other issues? Particularly, I mean, my question is whether you've given any thought to what this TSO needs to do before the end of our term. to assist with the RFP process if you get that arrangement signed and have Pioneer Valley Planning Commission on board.
Yeah, so part of the we have to work on the work schedule, but two of the things we have in there are meetings with I assume the TSO committee, one at the beginning of the process and one once the process gets more developed. So I think for them to hear what the council's goals are on this is important. And that'll help them frame the work that they're going to do. They're ready to begin once we iron out all the details, probably as early as early to mid-November. So so I think if you have time on your calendars before the end of December to meet with the staff there, and they're well versed on Amherst, everything about Amherst, so there's no ramp up time for them. I'd appreciate you carving out some time for them, probably an hour.
Thank you. That's helpful because I am doing the planning for the whole committee process and continuing to work on that. Councilor Ryan.
So Andy, I think you asked my question pretty much, and I wanted to echo previous comments that this is very good and exciting news. I'm happy to hear that Paul's been able to finally make this work. And I'm particularly happy to hear that we would have a chance, this existing TSO would have a chance to actually talk to and interact with the consultants before our term expires. So I really hope that we will make time. I know a number of us have worked very hard on this and we care a lot about it. We realize that these things don't happen quickly. All of us, or at least speaking for myself, I wish it happened more quickly, but I understand it's not. Life doesn't always work that way, but it's great news to hear that it's in process. And yes, I hope that the rest of the members of the committee will support the thought that we should make every effort to meet with them and talk to them about what our hopes are and thoughts are for this waste hauler proposal.
Okay. Far as I mean, I think we can fit this into the remaining agenda items. Maybe I should put on the screen, and this is not an official, it's not a document, and I'm saying this for the public, but I'm going to add to the screen for a moment. Is something that, see if I can find it to make sure I get the right thing up there. Not finding it on my, when I go to share screen, so it's a problem I'm having right now. The committee plan that I have, and I was hoping to put up on the screen, but I'm not gonna belabor the point if I can't do it, is that we're adding a meeting from a week from today for just returning to the one issue of the policy, the town council policy on public ways, so that a draft that I'm going to do over the next week, we have a chance to review and get to GOL so that we can keep that process moving and see if we can get this through the council by the end of the year. That's the sole purpose of next week's meeting, which will be at most 1 hour. We have meeting scheduled for November 6th, and we were going to try and return to a review of the Southeast Street to see if there's anything that could be done for the school when it's opened to make it as safe as possible for the new school when it is open, because there is no time to do the process for major change and hopefully that will be a matter for the TPC. If we can get the TPC done, might want to have, and we have on the possible agenda a brief review of what happened within the last council about the lighting policy, because that was a carryover item to us, and we're going to have to make it a carryover item to the next committee. And I will have to let the two people who are the two counselors who are sponsors, Councilors Haneke and Devlin Gauthier, know that it'll be there if either one wants to be present. So those are the two things that are listed presently for that date. We obviously are going to be picking up other things as we go along. On the 20th, to the extent that we want to revisit Heatherstone recommendation, that we have the opportunity to do so. That's really up to the council, because it's now in the council, not in this committee. And unless there's a request from the president or a referral back, it's really not in our area of responsibility anymore. We've made a recommendation. But I did put it in there as a placeholder. The aging, and we wanted to hear from the new director of senior services, and I will have to contact her about aging and dementia study and senior services. The police chief had raised the question about downtown restrooms as being part of the solution to public defecation and urination, and to get a report on where we are with downtown restrooms, particularly one at Kendrick Park that we know about, and whether there are any others. And then November 4th, we were going to concentrate on the carryover memo, and the assumption is that unless there's an absolute reason, we would cancel the meeting at the 18th. But we have a meeting on the 18th on the calendar nonetheless until we decide we don't need it. Hopefully because of proximity to the Christmas, and because there's nothing more that we could do that would get to the council. There's no more meetings of this council that would happen after the 18th. It's probable we would not meet. So those were the tentative agenda. Councilor Ryan.
So in light of Paul's comments, I would like to suggest that we make November 20, at least suggested as a possible date to meet with the consultants on waste haul. Paul can find out if that's feasible or possible. It sounds like they're interested. And I would, speaking personally, I would very much like to make that happen. And given the schedule that you're sketching out here, Andy, it seems like November 20th would be either that or the 4th would be a date I'd like it to be added to the list. I don't know what others think. Maybe they want this to fall onto the next TSO iteration, but I would very much like to see it come to us. And November 20 would be, it seems to be a possible date.
Jennifer?
Yeah, I agree that we should definitely have the opportunity, or the consultant should have the opportunity to meet also both ways, an opportunity with this TSO, just because there's going to be a learning curve for the next TSO committee. I mean, they won't be ready to take it up, as one of their first or second items. So whatever we can do to accommodate when the consultant can meet with us, I think we should do.
And I would put out, just for Paul's sake, is that if they were interested in meeting on the 6th, we could accommodate it on the agenda for the 6th, because I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on the lighting policy. It's not anything that we've done any work on, and it's just to know what we need to do to get it into the carryover memo that we're going to have to develop is one of our last acts. And the other is Southeast Street. And that may take a little bit longer. I know that Kathy Shane is very interested in participating in that discussion. And we do need to reach out to the schools because when I have talked with Superintendent Mooring about it, clearly there are school-related issues that are important. So, but we do need that. We could do that on either the 6th or the 20th, December 4th, if necessary. And so Paul just needs to consult with a person from PVPC. Anything else for today? If not, then we can take a motion to adjourn. I will move to adjourn. Is there a
Second.
second?
This is the highlight of my day, Andy. I don't want to leave. Sorry.
Is that a second?
Yes,
Jennifer
I think
seconded.
Jennifer did second. I apologize. Yes.
Okay. We'll take Jennifer's second. That's voting. Councilor Ryan,
Aye.
Council Lord,
Aye.
Jennifer,
Yes.
and I'm yes, so we are adjourned. Thank you very much. It's been a difficult meeting. I appreciate everybody's participation and
Yeah.
help.
Thank you
Bye.
all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.